Okay, and we're back, the TAKful Creator here. Okay, let's get started. May God the Creator bless us. May God the Redeemer heal us. May God the Holy Spirit enlighten us. Give us eyes to see, ears to hear, and hands to do the work of God. Feet to walk the path of justice, and mouths to preach the good news. May the angel of peace, prosperity, love, abundance, kindness, and grace watch over us and lead us to the reign of God. Ashe. Okay, so I'm being called to get some of the Under the Roses deck, okay? And I know a lot of readers don't like to use this book, but normally I don't either. Lately, there's been a few key words in here that has been integral. And I know you see with the rain in the background, with the, I'm guessing the airplane that's in the background. It's just, there's so much energy that's happening right now. I was just drawn into the reading. Okay, so much is going on energetically right now. We need to refocus, okay, or focus. So lately, I've been randomly opening the books that have attached itself to certain decks, right? And there's like a word or a phrase that would draw out in my mind, and then I would pull cards, and it would tell me the storyline behind the definition of what that phrase means, okay? How that phrase needs to be applied going forward, okay? So this is the reason why we're going to keep this deck here. And I know other readers don't, you know, use the deck. They like to go based on their own noodle. That is great. But the whole point in being a part of a collective is respecting what the collective has to say, right? So we're going to respect what the author of the book has to say, the author of the cards also, illustrator, however you want to coin them. The creators to, you know, get their credits, right? Their validation. Okay, so let's see. Okay, nothing from these is what I just heard. Let's see. Keep going. Oop, no. Okay. Yes. Keep going. Okay. Alright, so we start off with this anchor here, this anchor in reverse, this lack of stability. Okay. Why? Because we have this ring that is being kind of trampled on. We can tell that by how the cards fell out here. We have a stack that is kind of weighing down this card. Now at the top of the card we have the number 25. 25 symbolizes harmony if we're talking about numerology. 2 symbolizing belief. 5 symbolizing change and adaptation. Putting them together is 7 symbolizing praise, okay? All of that together is understanding how trials and tribulations impact us in a positive way. The only way we can see that positive way is by being harmonious with the change, right? That's where the adaptation comes into play. Okay, now with it being the ring card, it's talking about commitment. It's talking about commitment with business structure, anything that you really love. Commitment with a person, commitment with a family, commitment with an idea. It could be internal, it could be external, but it's generally a commitment, right? Put a ring on it. We're talking about a wedding. So let's see what the ring says here, okay, in this book. Now we're not going to read everything that the book says. Commitment, first thing. So love it. Okay, so we're definitely talking about commitment. We can move on to this 35 here that's associated with the anchor card. Now 35 is feeling deeply, okay? It's really looking inward and seeing how things affect you, right? And affect you in a way that's non-tangible. Okay, maybe something tangible happens, so like someone takes away something of yours, right? Well, how does that affect you without having the item anymore? Okay, and if you did have the item, you just knew that you had the item. You didn't have it in your hand, but you just knew that you had the item back in your ownership. How do you feel? Okay, that's what I mean by non-tangible. Okay, so with this 35, being held in place. Okay, so here on one side of the fence, it's in the reverse. This reversal card is saying that something that was once held in place is no longer being held there, right? Or it's saying that something is not being held in place in the way that can provide a workable machine. So you need to fix it, right? So it can be workable, okay? Now, the first definition of being stuck or held in place is really contingent with what I just noted with the stack of cards on top of this ring, right? This commitment card. Okay? It is holding it down. It's holding it in place. But what's supposed to be holding this in place, right? Maybe it's not this stack of cards. Maybe it's actually the anchor. It should be in the upright, holding this harmonious card in place. Okay? So let's figure out why we have this anchor in reverse, and why this commitment is even being called into question. Okay, so what do we have? Yikes. Well, first and foremost, we can see that we have a couple here. We have this lady card and this gentleman card, and I've noted in a few other readings that when the cards are a bit more green in color, it's showing that there is growth. There needs to be growth. Growth is the major function. Okay, so with these two cards actually being a pair, right, these would be the complementary cards to each other. They're looking away. Okay, so there must be some kind of issue with a relationship that would bring them together, right? So if we're looking at these two cards like a cookie, one cookie on one side, the other cookie on the other side, and then you have the filling in the middle, what is the filling that is holding these two together? Well, it is the whip. Okay, so let's go to the book and let's see one definition of the whip, right, that is going to tie in these two quote-unquote lovebirds. Okay, hardships. And even though I said one word, hardships and arguments, they went together. Okay, so there's some kind of belligerent nature about them. They can't speak well with one another. They are constantly at odds. They maybe bump heads all the time. Maybe they use things against each other. There's a control dynamic there that is not working. Why do I say all this? Well, with awareness, it means that you're ready to ascend. Okay, the basic level relationships that society has to offer, you can tell it's not bringing you peace of mind and heart, and that's really what you need, you know, internal peace. So by the awareness of this, you're able to refocus your attention, maybe not be in this couple, or maybe figure out what you need to do personally to align yourself with a version of you that doesn't argue or doesn't, you know, have this confrontation as much. Okay, but all we know here is that it takes both individuals to face themselves in order for them to eventually be able to face each other, right? Okay, so with this 11, this 1 and 1 is ask for it. It's that single lone entity, right? Think of Adam, like Adam and Eve, right? So if Adam was there with another Adam, we wouldn't have the ability to make an Adam-Eve-et, right? If an Eve was there with another Eve, we wouldn't have the ability to make an Eve-et, okay? You know, a smaller version of an Eve or a smaller version of an Adam. It would take the Eve and the Adam in order to create the additional, that third energy. Okay, so what are we saying here? Well, the Eve and the Adam right now are both balanced, and in them being both balanced, they are parallel to one another. Okay, it's not two, it's 1 and 1. Okay, so it's showing the separation, yet the identifier that there is a single energy on each side. The single energy is meant to be on a solo mission. Okay, but these individual solo missions is for them to see that the 1 and 1 is really supposed to be 2. Okay, so that's the reason why this whip is kind of like, because with the 1 here and the 1 here, you can see they're really at odds. Like the symbolism behind the entire card and how it's laid out just show like a tumultuous relationship, especially if this card is more so leaning on this feminine energy. It's saying that, well, she may be the one to take this personal commitment more seriously than he, Okay, now there is a union, right? There's a collective commitment, but there's a personal commitment. Like, what is her peace? Where is her happiness? And if she's not having it in this dynamic, then it's her responsibility to seek that. Okay, now with this card being in the upright and there being a ring and a rose, you can tell it's about her significant other, right? Now the significant other, what is he more focused on? Well, he's more focused on happiness and bliss. He's more focused on the romanticism that's attached to the union. Okay, what is romanticism? Pleasure in simplest form. Okay, so he's thinking about pleasure, and he's thinking about, you know, regardless if things go right or if things go wrong, you know, it's still a sunny day outside, right? Pleasure. Like, for him, it's not really focusing on the successes. It's more so as having kind of a glossed over mindset to where everything looks like a success, even if it's not. So his judgment is completely clouded on what's happening in the relationship, because he's not seeing maybe the confrontation, right? The arguments, and how it's eating away at their intimacy. It's eating away at their vulnerability. Because for him, intimacy and vulnerability show up as this pleasure. But for her, intimacy and vulnerability shows up as peace of mind and heart. Okay? So it would take both of them not being one and one, but being two, to understand that in order for this union to have both of them, right, on top of it with positivity, we would need him to focus on what is actually succeeding in the relationship, not based solely on his opinion, but based on maybe a collective opinion or the opinion of... Camera always like to shut off. Okay, so this confrontation card over here is kind of pushed out the way, and as it's being pushed out the way, we can see that this bouquet over here is not really the focal point. Okay, it's like, if we're able to only focus on the successes of the relationship and what will make the relationship successful, they're able to be in union, right, without much of the external affecting them. Okay, because there's a lack of stability over here, but it doesn't matter. You could be happy, you could be sad, and the lack of stability still be there. But what would you prefer to be, right? Miserable with the lack of stability, or happy and have peace of mind or heart, you know, even with a bit of a lack of being stuck in place, okay? Or, you know, not being stuck in the place that you want to be in, okay? So empty pleasures is only a focal point when you're focusing on the wrong thing. To me, that's lust, empty pleasures. Okay, so we're going to realign the cards the way that they had fallen. Okay, this way we can really tap into these general cards, so we can apply what would be more traditional, I would say, like historical cards into what would be more modern day living for us. Okay, so we have this little okay, the inability to let go, the inability to cut off, but it's nearer to the general reading pile. So I guess we're going to find out now what is truly keeping this union together the way that it is. Because if we could figure out why it's the way that it is right now, we can help the energies see where they need to go. Okay, so we have the owl, which, you know, here symbolizes wisdom. So I guess we need to focus more about the color changes as I say certain information or as certain cards fall out. And then we have something that could be a costly or expensive endeavor. Now let's say these two are not in divine union yet. Yes, they might be a divine couple, but they're not in divine union yet because they're going through whatever karmic lessons necessary to ascend them, right? Well, maybe the expensive or costly endeavor could be a marriage or divorce, depending on whether or not they get this aggression in check. Now we can see here by how the card is stuck to this gentleman card that the confrontation and the arguments, that negative throat chakra or blocked throat chakra or overactive throat chakra usage is emanating more from the male, okay, or the masculine figure. Not to say that the feminine figure doesn't engage. I'm saying more so the feminine figure has to work on knowing what information to offer in certain time periods because of like the aggression and maybe the lack of patience this gentleman or masculine energy has. Okay, so this feminine, she can't really listen to wisdom because she's more emotionally enthralled, and it's because of maybe excessive exposure to this aggression, right? So at this point, she knows that maybe he's going to be a certain way or he's going to act a certain way, and she can't navigate her emotions to smooth out the scenario. So in turn, she kind of is in a more reactive stance, and it kind of adds fuel to the fire, also making her kind of like a perpetrator here. But something around Memorial Day that may have also been costly or expensive is the reason why this energy is even at a point of awareness. Okay, so prior to Memorial Day, maybe one or both parties couldn't even like put a finger on what was the issue. But now we can see there are stepping stones, pushing them in a better direction. We're here to navigate that direction, or to help navigate that direction for them. Okay, so in the May month, there was someone who was or is a caregiver of children. I see elderly on the card. I'm guessing like they gave their children to a more elder member. I'm not really getting like they're caring for the elderly. They could be employing the more seasoned demographic to care for their children. All right, so maybe they have children together. That would make sense of why there maybe is so much tension, right? Because kids are generally a sensitive topic because in most cases they're karmic. Yes, they're beautiful and they're miracles, but they're meant to be karmic lessons. Oftentimes they take the lessons you didn't learn at the time of their birth into consideration as they're forming, right? And it basically forms their foundation. So as they are growing and living and thriving, you are being shown the same issues that you had at one point that you may have not worked through fully. Okay, we have this elephant vibe that, okay, remember what happened back in the day, when you may have been still in your developmental phase, right? And you just chalked it up to, this is your character, this is your personality trait. Well, now your children are here to jog your memory and say, no, this is not a personality trait. Maybe this is a form of PTSD, right? Or maybe this is a trigger for you, and so this is like how you traumatically react. Okay, and in any case, if it's not becoming of your highest self, you need to grow and expand past that, and your kids are tools to help you grow and expand past that. Now, it's not just kids. Kids are a tool for that. Pets are a tool for that, because not everyone can have kids, right? Then if it's not kids or pets, then maybe you're a teacher and you have to care for someone else's kid, or maybe you have to do something with the vulnerable or the innocent. Maybe you have to work with people who have disabilities, or maybe you have to work in an industry that requires constant contact. Okay, why? Because these energies need supervisory, or you need like someone to kind of, I don't want to say oversee, because then we get into slavery, we ain't talking about that, but someone to be the appointed contact, I guess, if something were to go wrong, right? The person who has the ability to solve minor or major issues. Okay. And maybe another reason why these two are really not in tandem with each other is because the constant contact is not positive. The constant contact may be aggressive. It may be like petty and picky. Like, let's say, when you should say good morning, or grand rising rather. I know everyone else says good morning. When you should say like grand rising, you say, oh, you know, are you up yet? Because I know you don't wake up at this. Okay, all right. You get what I'm saying? It's like, you know, the information that you offer is not tactful, right? It's not being received well, and the intention behind it is not to be received well. So you see the issue there. I'm also gaining like additional information on this constant contact. It's like, I'm gonna drop it. Oh, the constant contact is maybe because, you know, this relationship has severed, right? And if they have a kid together, one or both of them have to be a caregiver of the child. So they have to be in constant contact because of the children. But we already expressed that the contact is not very positive. If anything, the contact is more like a comedy show, because people act more like a perpetrator. They like to play games, specifically with granting material access. That could be like finances, or that could be like seeing the kids. Like, in actuality, in either case, it's expensive. It's expensive to their soul growth. It's expensive to their kids' soul growth. It's expensive financially. I guess if you guys can't, or, you know, these energies cannot work together to provide, then yeah, it would be more financially draining for either parent. And the feminine energy is feeling deeply about this. So we had this 35 that fell out. This 35 that's attached to the anchor of the lack of stability and security, right? Not being held in place. Well, why are things not being held in place? Well, maybe that's what this energy over here is trying to figure out. This is the reason why they're taking this personal accountability, right? This love of self that's attached to this love of others into consideration, right? They're feeling deeply about it. And maybe the feeling is that income needs to be there, but income is coming, but maybe not for this energy, right? Maybe income is coming for this energy, and that's the reason why there's a constant contact. Okay, so we can see like a dynamic here that is really all about finances. And the only way for the dynamic to work is for more of the masculine energy to forget what has happened in the past between these two. But I'm getting more of an octopus energy that says no. So what is this octopus energy? I'm gauging this as an additional person here that is kind of mysterious, right? Like most octopuses, they're like octopi, whatever. They are in the ocean. You can't really see them. They're usually in the darkest part of the ocean, and like physically, when you do see them, they're a bit scary, right? And in size, scary, and just overall aesthetic, just how their body is shaped. Why? Because it's so different than, you know, our norm. So what I'm gauging is that there's this like octopus energy here that may seem like an alien. They're so different, and because they're so different, it's showing that the similarities between them is making both of them a perpetrator. This additional energy is basically kind of, I don't want to say the overseer of this, but kind of like the supervisor of these two energies even doing anything. So maybe like a parent, a guardian, authoritarian, someone that they look up to, a mutual friend, something where that energy is like, no. So income is coming, feel deeply. It would take personal willpower though. You're being called to tap in because there are enemies around. Enemies that see your light and kind of want to feed off of it, but they're not able to, right? That's kind of like the dense part of moths. It's like they'll go around a light, not realizing the only thing that they can be is burnt by the light, right? It's not really going to lead them to food. It's not really going to lead them to a positive place, right? Because they're nocturnal, they're meant to be in darkness. But because light is universally attractive, it's a way to kind of lure them to their own deaths, right? It's kind of like what a cat is. Curiosity killed the cat. Well, it's the same thing for the moth, right? Curiosity kills the moth, and the curiosity is wanting to align with something that's so outside of your frequency without doing what is necessary to be a part of that frequency, right? So for a moth to be able to be in light with no problem, it has to be a butterfly, which means it already went through a death and rebirth process from being a caterpillar and morphing into a moth, right? That's a death and rebirth process. It did that. Now it's going to move on to another death and rebirth process, right? Dying as a moth, right? Sacrificing itself as a moth to then have another life. In this other life, right, is when they have the opportunity as a caterpillar again to morph into a butterfly now, right? Because they've been here before. So because they've been here before, they know what to do. They know, what's ahead of them. So it's less opportunity for failure, right? Oftentimes karmics are accepting of failure in a way that doesn't bring more success. That's why they're karmic, okay? And that's what we can tell by moths. They're attracted to the light in a way that's harmful to them, okay? So where this energy is kind of attracted to that octopus kind of vibe, they're not realizing that in order for them to get to that level and skill set, they first have to figure out, themselves. Figure out if this personal commitment aligns with the commitment that they once made. And how do they realign their values, their perceptions, so that they're not attracting this aggressive, confrontational energy. Because we can already tell by the way this masculine is dwelling on the past, similar to an elephant and being called to forget the past, that there were occurrences that caused him to want to act out in this way. So we're not justifying it for him, but we're saying that there's a reason for everything. Okay, so revenge is coming soon, but on whose part? Let's bring out the pendulum. Oh, pendulum, we're gonna use something different today, y'all. Look, it's an eye. It's so cool. Anyway, and this is glass. Anyway, so hi divine. Can you show me no? Ooh, can you show me yes? That we're on the right track? And maybe we need to double back. Let's double back, baby. Double back. Thank you. Okay, so this revenge that's coming soon. Is this on the part of the masculine? No, we're going the wrong way. It's the part of the feminine. So the feminine energy is seeking some kind of revenge because they're not receiving whatever financial abundance they feel that they should get from this masculine, right? And this masculine feels like, the feminine doesn't deserve anything based on their past actions. Okay? And there is a kid involved here. All right? So there's, that is the connection between them. Okay? He thinks this is just a comedy show. Like he's viewing everything that she says and does as a joke. And I think that is causing more anger, right? And resentment and hatred in her to want to react in a worse way than how he's showing up, right? So the confrontation on his end is viewing things like a joke. The argumentative aspect on his end is not offering her what she's asking for. Maybe asking how or why she can't provide it for herself. But then you have her on this other end who feels kind of entitled. Feels like, this is what is deserving. This is what she is owed. And because she is not receiving it in the time frame or at all, that she wants it in, she's going to seek revenge. Now, is this revenge going to be financial? No, this revenge is going to be physical. Okay, we should pull more cards. All right, so she's going to seek some kind of physical revenge. And, I mean, if we're talking about a masculine and a feminine energy, I don't really see it as, like, she's going to, like, physically hurt him. right? Because I would just assume like he would win the fight if he were to respond physically. And I don't think any man should technically respond physically. But someone primary, okay, perpetrator, primary visit physician. Someone needs to go. The masculine needs to go to a primary physician, and does the feminine? No, but the masculine needs to go to one because of the feminine. Okay, so maybe that, you know, she has poisoned him. Oh my gosh, is that her revenge poison? Okay, let's see if the cards match up with that, because that's wild. That's wild. Okay, because that could be where the elephant, like, don't remember, and the reason why you're not remembering is because they're putting something in your things to not remember. Oh, the doves. After midnight, the witching hour, on an early Thursday. Personal willpower tap in. So this is a side note, not a part of this, but definitely a side mission, because we love reading. So just know that there is a love reading. It's just not right here. Okay, it might be attached to the feminine, it might be attached to the masculine, but it's not between the feminine and masculine here. Giraffes. Okay, the reason why we talk about animals all the time is because animals symbolize character traits, and animals symbolize experiences, strengths, difficulties. And by speaking on animals instead of always speaking on what we're not doing right, it gives us more of an objective way to progress, to say the least. Okay, so is this girl a medium? Is this girl a medium? No, but I'm a medium right now, and I'm giving the information because I'm connecting to the ancestors, yes, of this girl. Guided family, soul family, no, just her ancestors. So loved ones that are coming back to say, yeah, she's not being too loving, and there needs to be a shift in dynamic here. Okay, feel deeply about this Bronco status, right? So this energy really wants to be financially set. That's where the security is. So they don't even want emotional or financial security. They want to be financially, you know, placed, right? Financially set. That's what financially set. And this is the only thing that they feel. This is the only thing that's on their focal point. They're not reaching for the stars here. They're more reaching for, like a giraffe, the best aspect of the giraffe is the long neck, right? It's because it's so unique. The closest animal, like relative, I guess we can think about in regards to a giraffe would be a dinosaur, and they're extinct. So it's just like, this is like a living dinosaur, just like a mutated version or whatever. And you're not using your number one skill set, which would be to eat the leaves in the tree. You're using the skill set that you see other people use, and you're like nibbling on the grass. That's what I'm getting here. Now there's other symbolism, other details about the giraffe that is super important, but in this specific reading, it's really like you could be reaching for the stars, but you're reaching for the ground. And if her stars is like the Bronco status over here, like even her guides are like, no, reach for the stars. He cannot provide you Bronco status, so you need to move to where you can be provided Bronco status, right? So we talked about the light and the darkness with the moth, like as a firefly, you know, they have the ability to, you know, roam the day and roam the evening, right? They're that cusper. Okay, so the fireflies are not out at the dawn of day, but in the afternoon, when the sun is still out, they're able to absorb the sun and still thrive. And then at night, when the moon is out, they're able to still absorb the moon and thrive. So in the daytime, their appearance looks like other bugs that are alive during the day, so that adds a layer of protection from other bugs seeing them as prey. And then at night, when they have also the coloring, you know, they mistake them as ladybugs because of the red head and then the black body. You know, at first glance you might think it's a ladybug, but anyway, and then at nighttime they have the light, you know, the bulb of light in their booties that they can help guide not only their path, but the path of other animals around them, right? So they have live adaptations that allow them to be balanced between the light and darkness. Okay? So with this firefly energy, it's like Bronco status is over here with reaching for the ground. When in actuality, it's like the real revenge is you becoming this balanced energy that can be in the light and that can also be in the darkness. Okay? But it takes kind of understanding wisdom. Like it takes moving out of this karmic light in general and moving more toward the energy of this more chosen light. And no, not because of complexion or any of that, but more so because of the cultural depiction of the cards and then the color symbolism of the cards. Okay? So let's see, is there anything else we need to know? No. Just know that there's going to be some kind of seasonal change that is going to either completely separate these two energies or form a good compromise with, between the energies. And either way, it's going to push both of them into the alignment that's going to be better associated with them. Okay, the thing sharks. Okay, on that note, I'll see you soon. Until the next.